Hello, everybody. So after I shared this code about how I improve my efficiency to check in the student attendance, and I got a few of my friends asked me to share literally how to really use this code. And I think they actually teach in the class have about 100, more than 100 students. So I'm lucky enough I only had like a maximum 30 students in one section. And but it still saved me a lot of time. So once I set it up, so every time I spend less than 1 minute to go through my attendance check. So I think this will be extremely helpful if you teach a very large class. So I think in this video, what I try to do is give you some idea how to use the code, and hopefully Zoom actually going to be able to embed this code to their Zoom platform, because I believe more and more institutions going to use the Zoom as a tool to teach the students. So if they are able to embed this attendance check function to the Zoom app, and that will save a lot of professors' time to do attendance checks. So I think in the virtual environment, attendance check is extremely important. And so I was starting from the code, and you will be able to see on the screen. And so on this screen, you will be able to see, okay, I can like modify my code a little bit, try to put everything you need to change at the beginning, because initially I kind of give instruction, you actually have to go to every line to change it. So instead, I put all the things you need to change at the first few lines. So basically, it's between the line, customize your code based on your class below to end of the customization. So that's where you need to customize. And I will show you how you should customize the code. But before I talk about how you customize the code, what I want to point out is in this video, I will not talking about how to use the Python. So I'm assuming if you're thinking about using this code to improving your efficiency to do attendance check, you should have a little bit background about Python coding. And so if not, I think you can find a lot of tutorial to learn how to do the Python. But here, I mainly focus on, first of all, how to set up your class, and then second is how to modify the code, because it do take a little time to initially set it up. Once you set up, the rest of your life will be safe. So because every time, like I said, I'll spend less than 1 minute to do the attendance check for all the classes I'm teaching. So I usually do twice a week. So let's just forget about this code first. So I first talk about what you need to set up. So I write down a few notes. So usually, basically, when you set it up, you need to download the class roster. So that's the first step. So download the class roster. So for me, our university using a platform called the D2L, so Brightspace. So what I usually do is, for example, I'm teaching the class Quant 340, so I go to called grades. So under grades, I can exporting grades as a CSV file. So that's where I go to exporting my grades. So my goal is not exporting the grades. The goal here is developing the roster based on the student registered to my class. So what I did is make sure you check their first last name. The key here is you're going to check the box called email. So what happened later I'll talk about is when students register to your class, they can use their nickname. So the code itself is trying to matching something unique to see who attended, who didn't, and how many hours, how many minutes they attended. And so therefore, student using the nickname, you cannot control that, but what you can control is they have to use the email. So after I talk about roster, I will teach you how to set up your Zoom so that you make sure student consistently using the same email to log into your class. So you're going to check the box of the email. So once you check those, and you can export to the CS file, export to the CSV file. So in this demonstration, I will just save on my desktop. And so I give a name called QUAN2 roster.csv. So I'll show you pretty soon. I cannot show you download because I try to keep the privacy of my students. So I cannot show you their real name and their email. Okay. So you just download from any learning platform that allow you to download the student name along with their school emails, and then use that. Download it and save it as a CSV file. Okay, so this is the first setup, and so I will show you where is my roster. Okay, so here I already preset up. So I already changing the student's name, their email, so to make sure I keep the privacy of my student. So you can see these are my students' first name, last name, and their emails. So I keep my email open because I don't mind you guys email me. So their names, their emails, And so they're all kind of fake names and fake email. So this is the school roster you set up called roster. And so the second setup, you have to set it up before you start your class, before the semester started. So basically you schedule the meeting on the Zoom. So there is a very important setup you have to set it up. So main goal for that setup is to make sure students consistently using their school email to log into your class. So that's only required for them. I did see a little bit problem for the first week. Even I sent email to let them know you have to use your school email. Some students didn't read the email. I'm thinking, so, but starting from the second week, I don't get any email from the students saying why I cannot log into your class. So mainly just the first week had a little bit problem. Once students get used to it, every time they know they have to use the school email to join your class. So now I'll show you how you should set up your school or your class so that to make sure your students are using their school email to log in. So basically, go to the schedule meeting on your Zoom. So you name your class, etc., and set up. So make sure you are doing it as recurrent meeting. So basically, you don't have to keep changing the link for your class. So set up as a recurrent meeting. And then, so that's one box you need to check, okay? And then you can set up the frequencies, how long you want to do it, and how often, and when you want it ended. So those are the basic settings for any Zoom classes you should already know. So the one thing I want to point out is there's one box you should check called the required authentication to joining. So the license I'm using is from my university, so by default they already know what is considered as authentic email address. So basically it's starting from the student email or the faculty email, and since I do this kind of setting, I already know I should not have any Zoom bombing. So I will uncheck the waiting room, and which is actually nice because I don't need to, especially some students coming late, I don't, in the middle of the lecture, I actually don't need to prove that they were joining. So if some of you really worry about Zoom bombing, but actually you will be able to trace which school email were used to jump into your class, bombing your class, then you can reach out to the student and say, why are you bombing my class? So actually it's really, really nice, not just for the sake of doing attendance, but also it's going to help you to limit the chance to have Zoom bombing, and you can trace back who are really bombing your class. So check this box, required authentication to joining, and then set up the what is the allowed email domain. So then you can control the student to make sure they consistently using the same, maybe the email considered as ID, so the same ID to join your class. And then later on when I show you the code, basically we are trying to matching the student not based on their name, actually based on their emails, based on their email. Okay, so this is the second setup. That's when you set up your class before the semester starts. When you set up your Zoom class, so that's the box you have to check. Okay, so this is the second step. So the third step is download or copy the Python code. I was just showing you here. So basically, this is the Python code you need to download. Again, I'm assuming you already have some kind of programming background and you know the Python. So you download it, and then you can use any Python editor. So I use Atom. So this is my favorite one because I did like the color and how they color coding different codes. So I get used to it. And so this is the one I download, exactly the same. So basically now I would show you how we should customize the code. Okay, customize the code. And so that's number 4, modify the code. So before we modify the code, I have to identify a few things. So first, the roster. So basically, it's the name of the roster, and you're gonna already create it. So for me, it's Quant342 roster.csv. And the attendance here is the one you're going to download from the Zoom. So I will show you later. And then the minimum time and the file name and the file path. So I would explain this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places you need to customize and how you should customize it. So first of all, to make it easier, so I put all my document on my desktop. So So my document, everything's on my desktop. So the only thing I want to add on is I create this folder called attendance report. So what happens is every time you run the code, And so based on each classes, they were developing a report, it can place in a folder. And then, so I don't want to just spread out on my whole desktop, so I'm creating a folder for my attendance check. So I'm creating this folder, so I suggest you to create a folder to contain all your report. Okay, so creating this folder. And then the second is your Python code, your roster, and also the attendance you download from the Zoom should also place on the desktop. And so you can see already have my Python code here, and I have my folder where I'm going to place my report, and I have my roster, and also I have attendance here. And so again, before I show you how to customize the code, I have to talk about how actually we're going to be able to download this attendance, right? So attendance for each class, you want to see how many students show up, how long they show up, right? So that is attendance. So if you already use the Zoom to do attendance manually, so you should know where to get your attendance. So basically, you go back to your Zoom, go to the tab called, make sure it's on the website. So you cannot do on the Zoom apps. So it has to be on the website. Go to reports. So after you go to reports, you just need to click the usage. Okay, after you click usage, so I will do what happened last week. Let's see. Okay, I will search. So you can see Quant 340, section 2. I have 26 students show up, right? 26. And so the total duration is 85 minutes. So my class is 75 minutes. 75 minutes. I started the class a little earlier. That's why it's 85. And so if you click this link, and so obviously you will be able to see all the students show up. And then what you need to do is just click this export. Okay, so again, I cannot show you the student email. So once you export it as a CSV document, so then I will save it every time with the same name. So like here, I call it quant2.csv because I teach 4 classes every semester. So each class I give a unique name. So this is my quant section 2, so I call it quant2.csv. And if you have econ, so econ220.csv, etc. So you just name it. And so there's a concern. Some people might say, okay, so basically you download every time you name exactly the same name. Is that right? Yes, you're right. So every time you name it exactly the same. So what I did after I run the code, and I will put this raw attendance into a separate folder called raw data folder. I put there just in case some students say I show up in the class where you say I didn't. So I can pull the raw data out to show, see, you didn't show up, right? So or you can just delete it because the Zoom keep all your usages for the whole semester. So you don't even need to keep it. So it depends on you. I save it just in case, but you don't have to if your semester lasts for 4 months. So you actually can just delete it. So every time you just name it, make sure if it's from the same section, same class, you just name this attendance the same name. So I always call it quant2.csv. Okay, so those are the information we need on the desktop. So now I will show you how we should customize this code. So first of all, the roster. So this is literally is the roster you download from your learning platform, has their student email, has their names. So you only need to changing the pound to the name you created, right? So in my case, it's called the Quant2 roster. So I would just copy my name and paste it here. Okay, so this is roster. And then the second is attendance, read. So this is the attendance you download from the Zoom. And then you name it, customize name it. So in my case, I call it Quant2. So this is the attendance of the class you download from the Zoom. So I paste it. And then something interesting is here about minimum time. So my class lasts for 75 minutes. So I didn't realize that some students might leave the class earlier. Some students might be coming to class very late because it's all virtual. So sometimes I feel it's very not be able to control that. So I do require students, you cannot be late more than 15 minutes or you cannot leave 15 minutes earlier. So basically I have a threshold design on my syllabus. So if you miss more than 15 minutes, that means I consider you as an absence. But when I generate a report, I don't want to clump those people didn't show up enough time with the student actually missing the class. So therefore, later I show you the report, you will see we have two tabs. So one tab showing you the student who totally missing the class. Another tab is show you the student who actually didn't show up enough time. So it's really important to have that second tab because sometimes students actually their internet are break down and then they left, but they zoom back. So it seems like you will see them in the incomplete tab, but they show up twice. If you add in the time together, they're actually meeting the requirement. So that's really nice to have the second tab. So usually my class threshold, since I meet for 75 minutes, so the minimum time I require them to show up in the class is 60 minutes. So therefore, I set up my class time as 60 minutes. And so that's the third place you need to customize. So the fifth place is the file name. So basically, like I said, after you run the code, you will be able to generate a report, allow you to see who attended the class, who didn't attend the class, who didn't attend enough time. So I want to place in this folder called the attendance report, right? But this file should have a name. So like usually I name it based on my class section. So for instance, we call it quant section quant section 1. So I call the quant section 1. So what happened in this code is every time you run the code, they will generate a new Excel file within this name plus the day you run the code. So the reason I want to add in the day you run the code is because like for me, I meet my students same section twice a week. So I will run the code twice a week. And so that it will not cover each other. So because it will differentiate by the day when I run my code. So this will save the time because you don't want every time you run the code you try to change in the name. So but I just still want to, if they belong to the same section, they will have the same file name. The beginning of the file name will be the same. Okay, so quant section 1. So that's the fourth place you need to change. You can customize as you want. Name the name you want to call your report. So the last one is where you want to save this report. So as I said, I'm creating this document, this folder called attendance report. So that's where I want to save my attendance report. So what happened I will do is I will find the path so that when I run the code, my report will generate place in that folder. So I will go here. I will check on where is the path. You just need to right click the mouse, choose the folder, right click the mouse, go to property. Okay, property, and so that is the this is where this folder is. So I will just copy this address and then paste it inside my quotation. There's a few more things need to change, so not good yet. So first of all, I need to add in a forward dash, what do you call it, like a slash, forward slash. And then at this point, the report generated will literally just place on the desktop. It will not be in my folder yet. So in order to do that, you're going to copy your folder's name and put a 2 forward dash slash and then paste your report and one more time. So a little bit complicated. I'm sure I have this video. You can always come back to look at how you set up this path. Whew. Okay, everything is done. And do not forget to save it. So for this software, you want to save just Control S, so they will save your document. So now I finished editing my folders. Sorry, my code. Okay, so I finished. And step number 5, I'll set up the folder and then download the zoo usage. So I already downloaded it, called Quant 2. So now I can start to run the code. Okay. So, like I said, I'm assuming you already used Python before, so I've used the command prompt. Before I do that, I will open this folder for you. So you can see nothing in this folder yet. Okay, nothing in this folder yet. And I'll keep it here so that we actually can see this whole process. And okay, so let me close this one. So in order to run the code, I'll make sure my computer recognizes where's my Python code. So instead of constantly tell my computer where's the path to finding my quant2.py, I want to direct the command windows to directly just make sure all the code is running in the same path to save my time. So what you usually do is identify where is the quant2.py located and using the CD to relocate all the code, okay? So first of all, I need to look at where's my quant2.py located. So I right click the mouse and properties, and so this is my path. So I copy the location first, and I come back to my command code, and I type in cd space and paste the path and push enter. So what does this mean? This means everything we're running now is on my desktop. Okay, so that's what I want, because I don't want every time I'm gonna type a long how to say the path. So it's sometimes going to create an error too. To run the code on my Python code, I just edited. So basically, I would type Python and quant2.py, and then I'll push enter. You will be able to see on the attendance report folder, we're creating a new Excel document, and then I will show you pretty soon. Okay, so now you can see there is a Excel file document creating here, and then pay attention on the name. That's how I call quant section 1. So today is April 12th, so that's why the date is today. So that's why it's so unique. I don't have to changing the file name every time. I just, like I said, I meet my student twice a week, so I usually run the code because I have Monday, Tuesday class. Monday class are similar as Wednesday class, Tuesday class similar as the Thursday class. So basically, after I finish my Tuesday class, I run the code for all 4 sections, and then after I finish Thursday class, I run again. So they will not cover each other, so I don't need to changing my document's name. So that's great. So I really try to save the time. So now let me show you what you can see on this generated report. So you will be able to see 2 tabs. So the first tab is literally show you who are missing the class. Okay, who are missing the class, their email, student's name. So usually they should have last name. Like I said, I just made up a few names. Just try to keep the privacy of my student. And then if you look at the second tab called incomplete. So those are the students considered as didn't attend the class enough. So you can see the total duration is less than 60 minutes. But if you look at John, the same John, right? The email the same, he showed up twice. So now that's why I want to separate my incomplete from the absent, because if you're adding these 2 times together, he actually attended full time. So this student actually in the middle of the class, the internet broke down, but he somehow the internet didn't work, so he's out, but he come back. So now you can say, oh, okay, I don't really need to consider him as absent, but the last student, that's the only time he show up 40 minutes, so he actually going to be considered incomplete and will be considered as an absent. So this is the file, and so it's the demonstration about how to use this code. So you can see that it just takes time to do the initial setup before the semester starts. So once you set up, what you need to do is just download the attendance from the Zoom, save on the desktop, run the code, and you know who are attending the class, who didn't attend enough time. And so I really hope this video are helping you to learn how to work efficiently. I think it's especially important if your class size is really big. I'm sure this code will really help you out. So I'll show you very quickly. So this is the folder I do for my class. So I basically have my 3 rosters and quant and econ, and then I had 3 code for 3 sections. So I put in 3 different folder for my reports, and I also had 1 folder is raw data. Like I said, I don't like delete my attendance I download from the Zoom, but again, the Zoom keep all your usages. But I think I already downloaded it. Why not I just save somewhere? So this is the whole folder I use to do my attendance. It just saves a lot of time for me. I love my students, and then I like to make sure they show up in my class, and then on time participant. So this is the way to improve my working efficiency. I really enjoy this process, and hopefully you enjoy this video. If you have any recommendation on how to improve the code, and feel free to leave the comments and changing any modification on my GitHubs. And so again, hopefully Zoom actually building this function for professors because it's really very, very helpful. I really love it. And so have a good one. Bye.